Sunday was well. There's a lot going on in the industry. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, hit the notification button, and remember to share the channel to your loved ones. Okay, so you see the title, you see the caption. JaRule, man, that was crazy, man. We really thought that Tasha was capping, and we thought nothing happened to you, bruh. And now it looks like we just caught him. You just caught a media jokes. You know what I'm saying? This was a whole media jokes, man. All of this just to promote Icon Instagram to go live on that was crazy, bruh. Was crazy. But you know what? I'm not knocking the hustle. It looks like you turned a negative situation into something positive by promoting the situation on your Instagram page. I saw some of it, fell asleep on it. Um, it's just really sad that we have to take negative situations where you could have really been hurt, man. You could have been hurt, something bad could have happened, but listen, man, I'm just glad at the end of the day that you're doing well, and that nobody really got hurt. It wasn't like a really bad situation where somebody got hurt, and you're able to capitalize off of it. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, man. You know, um, Once again, shout out to Brandy and Monica for having an awesome tour. I didn't get a chance to go check it out, but you know what I'm saying? Shout out to them. Right? So um it looks like Candy Burris and her husband Todd are going to file for divorce. They're calling it quits. Not sure how long they've been married, but I know for sure when I first started watching Love and Hip Hop, um, it looked like the marriage was going to be a little shift, was going to be shaky. You know, Number one, by her being the breadwinner, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but people noticing that she was a pretty much a celebrity, and he was a video production assistant. Okay, so people was already kind of shifty about it. They was like, yo, why is she quote unquote stooping this low? You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. After watching, some of the clips of when they first was, going through the whole engagement stage or what have you, you can kind of tell that she was gonna be very controlling in this marriage. Like she's like, and it's cool. Some women are just controlling. It could be a genetic situation. Just it could be her genes, and even with seeing them sit down in the counseling, with the pastor, um, it looks like she wasn't really down for compromising when it comes to like communication and just doing the baby steps to making your man happy, like sometimes a woman should take initiative to make sure her man is mentally straight or has the attention that he needs. He shouldn't have to ask for that attention. And that was one of the things she said. She was like, if you need attention, ask me. So it was just like, stuff like that is kind of like, all right, it is what it is. Listen, man, this woman's a celebrity. This woman's always, she's touring, she's has all these dates or whatever the case is. Um, I was watching Choke No Joke. He was saying how like he was on daddy duty, and you shouldn't. If you're a parent, you're a father, it shouldn't be looked at as daddy duty. These are your children, right? So it shouldn't be looked at as a job. It should be looked at as, hey, listen, this is my obligation. This is something that God has blessed me to do, right? But to each his own. Sometimes we like to, use those terms as humor, form of humor. But yeah, man, Candy, she, of course, y'all know she's from the group Escape. Um, that group, they had their ups and downs, whatever, just like any other group, But she it looks like she was very controlling, man. And it could happen. It can happen in a marriage or relationship. Especially with times have been changing. Women have been given the rights, to the working rights, the voting rights. The past 30, 40 years, whatever you want to call it. And now women are very they dominate. They dominate the industry. So many industries. And they're I'm gonna do some research to find out how many women are breadwinners for the household. So let me you know what, I wasn't gonna talk about that, but let me check that right now. Okay, how many, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Okay, uh how many women are breadwinners in a marriage? 1 out of 10. Let's see what we get. Because it's time to start, let's get some facts. Let's do our research, right? How many women are breadwinners? Okay, so, and I could be wrong, but this is a learning situation. More broadly, when considering mothers, single or married, earning at least half of the family's income. Okay, so about 45% of mothers were in that breadwinner category in 2023. Okay, so that's a big jump. That's a big jump from the beginning of time. Let's just say the beginning of time. That's a really big jump. And this is 2023. We're in 2025, going to 2026. So Lord knows what that will look like in 2 to 3 years from now. So yeah, so I also did some research to see out of 10 marriages, how many of out of 10 marriages, um how many, as far as divorcing is concerned, right? How many how many women initiated those divorces? So when I did my research, it says out of 10 divorces, roughly 7 out of 10 of those divorces are initiated by a woman. Okay, so 70% of divorces are driven by a woman rather than husbands. Okay, out of those 70%, right? So 29%, all right, 29% out of those divorces are driven by infidelity. Infidelity. Okay, so you got infidelity, and the other reasons are um, abuse, financial issues, infertility. That's a major thing, and personality problems. So it looks like women are more driven to file for divorce than men. You know, Men are more committed in the relationship, in the marriage than women. And after watching Kevin Samuels and watching different other platforms or what have you, according to numbers, and doing research and statistics, women are the ones who are filing for divorce. And listen, women, very emotional. Men, we're emotional too. You know, but these are the triggers. These are the triggers. These are the things that happen, right? And it's just unfortunate. That's why as men, you have to be very careful when you step into the realm of a marriage. You can't feel like you're forced. You can't feel like you are your back is against the wall. Ultimatums, things of that nature. You have to stand firmly on your decision makings, because the woman that you choose to marry, there needs to be a certain type of transparency, and I always talk about this. Spiritual grounding is so important in marriage, okay? Because according to the numbers, you know, you know, women are leaving for, financial and different reasons, that things that we don't want to say tangible, but just things. It's more emotional things that can be worked on if you have a certain type of spiritual connection with them. Okay, because every marriage isn't perfect. Every marriage isn't perfect. You understand what I'm saying? And Love and Hip Hop, these shows. Um, I was talking to a good brother of mine today, and he voiced his opinion on how like sometimes they put out the wrong message, to the people that watch it, and they think that that's how their marriage should be, or they mock what they see on TV, and they see what goes on in some of these relationships, and they're like, oh man, this should happen in my marriage, whatever the case is. And no, like this is just TV. You understand what I'm saying? This is just TV. I'm pretty sure there were women who were pretty watching Real Housewives of Atlanta or whatever, and they probably saw how Kandi was acting and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be just like her. I want to be bossy. I want to be this, that, and the third." And now look. You have to. You know, she showed no signs of submissiveness in her marriage, according to what I saw on the show. The little that I saw. Okay, I no sign, and that is one of the key things a woman should bring to the table is submissiveness, and it shouldn't be looked at as something negative. Submissiveness is not a negative thing. Just like a man is supposed to provide and protect. You understand what I'm saying? So if you look at that, okay, a woman is not supposed to be submissive. She's not supposed to be a maid. You understand what I'm saying? But it's supposed to be a spirit of submissiveness. Okay, just like the man doesn't have to provide 1,000% of everything, but he needs to provide a spirit of, hey, listen, babe, yes, it's okay for you to have a job. It's okay for you to help out or whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying? But listen, if you ain't got it, I got it. She has to feel that comfort, so she doesn't have to feel like, oh man, if my check is late next week, we ain't gonna have food on the table, we ain't gonna have a roof over our head. You understand what I'm saying? So that is the spirit that a man should bring to the table. um and it's unfortunate that the type of relationship that they projected on the show. Even her mother was so controlling, like it was unbelievable. And he even said he was unsure about the marriage when they was going through the engagement process. You understand what I'm saying? So that right there, what I mean, he just looked very unsure. And it looked like, as I'm looking at some of it right now, and it's on mute, and I just see the nonverbal communication that's given between the parents. The nonverbal communication that's given between Todd and Kandi. So it's listen. I listen. They have children. Okay, hopefully they will be able to co-parent correctly. I know they will, because they seem like two professional individuals. Okay, and listen, listen, we have to be careful what we watch on TV. This is None of it is real. This is A lot of that stuff isn't real. Okay, it's for TV. It's for TV. Okay. And yeah, man, let's do our research, man. Do your research on what you're supposed to bring to the table, whether you're a woman, a man. Continue to build your spiritual foundation so you can be aligned correctly. Okay, it's very, very, very important. Okay, so listen, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Continue to show love on the channel. Numbers are doing good. Make sure you go follow the Instagram page, Big Picture Media Harlem. And listen, man, y'all stay safe. Peace.